Attention all pharmacy industry professionals. This isn't your grandfather's podcast. This is...
What the hell are you talking about? Our grandfathers never even listened to podcasts. The internet wasn't even around.
Shut your pie hole. My grandfather loves podcasts, and so does my maca.
Your what?
This is the RxRated podcast, part of the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Did you say maca?
Put the fidget spinners away. Punch in the coordinates for the jump to light speed. And do or do not. There is no try.
What kind of asshat introduction is this?
The podcast dedicated to all the pharmacy professionals in this crazy sector of healthcare.
What was that?
The RxRated podcast.
Dude, seriously? You already said that 3 other times. This is bullshit.
Welcome to the RxRated podcast. This is your host, Dr. Jeffrey Winger. That's at JWingerPharmD on Twitter. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Dr. Maurice Shaw. Have a shout out to the people. Tell them where you're at.
You can find me on YouTube, RX Comedy. Check out my Facebook page, I'm Maurice Shaw. You can also check out my website, www.mauriceshaw.com. Check out my YouTube videos. Follow me on Facebook. Follow my funny memes I post, and you can get all my updates of videos that's coming out and other things I have coming up in the future, my partnership with Pharmacy Times and things like that.
Tell us a little bit about that. The Pharmacy Times wants you to do their Family Feud as the sassy pharmacist. What's that all about?
Well, there's 2 things. Currently, I'm doing, they have a pet peeves column that it used to be a written portion of their online, on the magazines that come out and online. But I did a video version of the pet peeves by the sassy pharmacist. So that we're currently doing, and those will be coming out, I believe, monthly or every other month. And next year, sometime we'll be partnering up to try to do a pharmacy version of Family Feud. Like top 5 reasons why someone wants to refill their Adderall early go, and hopefully have 2 different like pharmacy teams come in and compete. So
that sounds like a blast. You also recently did a stand-up at Zany's, which I caught on YouTube, which I thought was freaking hilarious. Tell us a little bit about that.
That Zany's, world famous comedy club. They have 3 different locations in Chicago. I was at the one in Rosemont. I'm the feature act, so slowly made my way up. They usually have a host, then the feature act gets to do about 25, 30 minutes, and we're on stage. Was there Monday through Sunday, and when I was working, I was like, wow, this is what it's like to enjoy your job. Like, it's a great feeling when you go there and it doesn't really seem like work because you enjoy it. It was a weird but wonderful feeling.
You bring that up, and that's interesting because I have an article here from Pharmacy Times Magazine talking about, are pharmacists happy with their salaries and with their jobs? And just real quickly, I wanted to go over some of the results because they talk about job dissatisfaction. And the 3 big things that pharmacists were dissatisfied with were workload. That was almost 54% were dissatisfied with their workload. Management was 43.5%. I'm not sure what that's referring to. And then work-life balance was 36%, which I can understand because it's like, how can you have a life when you're constantly tied into this pharmacy where if there's an issue, they call you and, hey, the tech didn't show up. What are you going to, we need somebody. What are you going to do? And if you're the pharmacy manager, you're responsible for all this. Thank God, in my case, I'm just a staff pharmacist. I don't have to deal with all this shit, but I couldn't imagine, because you're a pharmacy manager, how do you deal with techs calling in all the time and not showing up and all this rigmarole? Like, what is that all about?
I mean, it's kind of hard. Lucky for me, just because when I'm at work, I'm kind of laid back and I tell jokes. People like me. It's easy for me to get people to come in when I have a call off, and I overhire. So, sometimes people complain they don't get all the hours they want, but by having more people, I can have people come in. So I don't know. I just rather it that way. You know, people can always pick up shifts at other stores. So I rather have extra people for call offs versus not having enough people so everybody can get their 40 hours. But it all works out with vacations and stuff like that. I make it work. But yeah, it can be stressful because I know other stores who will call me begging me for help and they don't have anybody else to come in, and you could just tell the stress in their voice.
See, the guy that I work with, the pharmacy manager, is a recent grad. He only graduated like 2 years ago. So he's got his mind set on how things should be, and he feels like he's the man in charge. And I've heard the techs tell me when he gives an interview, because they'll overhear, he'll tell a prospective technician, okay, listen, I'm really hard to work with. You know, I expect a lot out of you. I sort of admire him for telling them straight up, this is going to be hard, and I expect you to work. But I think he scares so many good potential techs away that we're having a hard time getting anyone to come work at our store because they're all like, well, I don't want to work for a freaking drill sergeant that's going to, you know, be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, smart.
He's basically scaring everyone away. And here we are. It's flu season has started. We're in season now, and we cannot get anyone to come work at our store because he's just scaring them all away. And you know, imagine you're working. I don't know how busy your store is. It's much busier than mine, I'm sure. But yeah, you've got to give vaccinations, and people are coming in for this and that and the other thing, and you got to fill prescriptions. We're so into giving vaccinations that I'm at the point of saying, hey, by the way, we fill prescriptions too, just FYI, because so much of my time is consumed with giving flu shots and shingle shots and pneumonia shots that, oh yeah, by the way, we also fill prescriptions here. It's so fucked up. And we can't get any tech help because he keeps scaring all the techs away. But I'm torn because I kind of admire the fact that he's at least up front with them saying, look, this is going to be a challenge. But it seems like, I guess, people today don't want to take up the challenge. Do you get that? I mean, how old are your techs? I've got one that's in her 60s and she's hanging in there, but she can barely keep up. She's working overtime just to pick up the slack. But these young kids don't seem to want to take up that challenge of working hard. Do you get that at all?
Yeah. I mean, people don't want to work. I had somebody say, well, I want 40 hours a week, but I can only work Monday through Friday from 9 to 3. And I'm like, well, I'm like, I know I'm tired and overworked, but I don't think that math adds up. It's like people want 40 hours but don't want to put the time in to get 40 hours. And, you know, anytime I hire somebody, I tell them, like, look, I'm pretty laid back. As long as you come here and try the best that you can and we don't get stuff done, don't worry about it. But I will tell them up front that the customers are kind of rude and I've had people cry. So that part will be difficult and I can't make that any easier. So that, you know, I just let them know up front that they'll be dealing with rude customers at times and just they can deal with that. I'll make sure that the pharmacy part isn't so stressful on them.
Wait, you've had customers treat the techs so bad that they've cried?
Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the clientele that I have, they're doctors, nurse practitioners, lawyers. It's kind of a high-end area, so
and they badger them.
But I don't. Well, it's just the way that they talk to them. I don't think they're necessarily mad at the technician, but you know, like the technician is the person in front of them, and they'll just be crying, and I'll have to take them in the room. I literally had one girl. She put in her 2 weeks about a month ago. She said, "It's not you. I love you. You're funny, but these people are just so mean. I don't know why they just yell at people in the pharmacy." So she's going to leave the pharmacy and work for Walmart and help people carry their groceries to their car.
Jesus Christ.
And he's being bombarded by calls from New York, shouting at him. Now, frankly, I'm just going to yawn.
Yeah, I get some of that where, you know, they're berating us and it's like, well, I can't fill this prescription for Lantus because it doesn't have the maximum daily dose. So I don't know what day supply to put on it. So if they had written the prescription correctly, I could fill it, but I can't because I don't know how. I don't want to get in trouble for insurance fraud. I have to know what the maximum daily dose is so I can put a proper day supply on there. You're yelling at me. We've been trying to get a hold of the doctor for a week now. They haven't gotten back to us. Why are you mad at me? We're just trying to fill this correctly. It's like, yell at the doctor. They're the one that wrote the prescription wrong in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I think part of me is that being a pharmacist and a pharmacy manager on some of the most dangerous areas in Chicago where people were threatening to kill you. Like now it's just people yelling at you, like, whatever, you didn't threaten my life. So I don't really care. I just say, okay.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
We recently had, I think it was Pharmacy Technician Day not too long ago. And shortly before that, it was National Women Pharmacist Day or some shit. And I'm thinking, is there a male pharmacist's day? And it's funny, someone on Twitter retweeted me and said, yeah, it's called April 1st, Fool's Day. Why are we celebrating female pharmacists when I got a letter from the company that I work for that says, here's a direct quote, Happy Women Pharmacists Day. Did you know that in the 1960s, women made up 8% of all U.S. pharmacists, but today women comprise 57% of U.S. pharmacists and 63% of pharmacists at our company? And I'm thinking, okay, so they're well into the majority. Why are we still celebrating them like they're victims? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm sorry, ladies. I got a fucking Me Too headache. Y'all is killing me right now.
Okay, they've overtaken this field. Why are we still pretending like they're downtrodden? You know what I mean? Am I over analyzing this or what?
No, I just think the companies know that working in the pharmacy is terrible, so they just try to, I guess it's not just the companies. Who made up this day, first of all?
I don't know. I can understand if you're the minority and you're trying to break the glass ceiling and get, but it seems like they've already broken the glass ceiling.
Is there a Black Pharmacist Day? I need to get on top of this. I need a day.
Just seems silly that we're still doing this sort of thing when they're clearly in the majority. You know what I mean? It's like, what are we celebrating here exactly?
I wondered if anybody, I mean, maybe I should have. I do have one female staff pharmacist, but I wonder if anybody celebrate the day. You know, like I know on Pharmacy Technician Day, I see everybody posting the food that they buy the technicians, but I wondered if any like staff actually like get a cake that said happy.
Yeah, it's all for show. It's all for show to keep the PC police at bay. That's all it is.
Because if people did, I feel bad, and I will get my female staff pharmacist the cake. I didn't even think about it. I don't even think she knows that there is a day, to be honest.
Well, do the goddamn math.
Well, Halloween's coming up, and I guess we're allowed to dress up for Halloween. Have you ever dressed up for Halloween at work when you were on?
No, because when I first started, I had a pharmacist that dressed up as Catwoman that didn't have a white coat, and they almost fired her. I'm like, this is a setup. I will be a pharmacist. No costumes for me.
So she didn't have her white coat on, but if you dress up for Halloween and you have your white coat on, you're okay? Because I was going to dress up as Bruce Lee, you know, have the Bruce Lee outfit on, but as long as I have my white coat over it, I'm okay, right?
Yeah. Maybe and to honor you, maybe I'll try to see if I can pull off going as Prince or something in a white coat.
Speaking of that, let me tell you about something. I took a 5-day weekend and I traveled to St. Louis. So I flew from Florida, but I had to go to Minneapolis first. It was one of those things where you had to catch another plane to get to your destination. So I flew from Orlando to Minneapolis, and you know, it's 89 degrees in Florida when I leave. I get to Minneapolis, it's 43 freaking degrees. I'm in a t-shirt and shorts. I'm freezing my ass up because when you get off the plane, it's just that connector thing, that tunnel. And I'm thinking, can we please depart this plane a little quicker? I'm freezing. And so I'm in Minneapolis. I go to the the print store, because the Minneapolis Airport has a print store now. And I was taking video and pictures and thinking, oh, this is so cool. I didn't buy anything because I already have everything, let's face it. And then I get to St. Louis, and the weather is a little more temperate in St. Louis. But then when I fly from St. Louis back to Florida, I got to connect through Minneapolis again. So here I go. I'm getting onto the plane. I'm freezing my ass off. It's 40-something degrees. And I get on the plane, and everything worked out perfectly. I was surprised because the last time I flew, I had all kinds of delays and stuff, but everything worked out perfectly. And I get back to Florida, and it was wonderful. And one of the things that I was going to buy at the print store at the Minneapolis Airport is $5 cheaper at Barnes and Noble. So when I get back to Florida, I just go to Barnes and Noble to buy it. But keep your wits about you. They jack up the prices because you're stuck at the airport. Let's face it, everything's more expensive at the airport. Even Jerry Seinfeld did a joke about that, like $14 for a tuna fish sandwich. That, tuna is very rare here. But it was a great experience. I love the Minneapolis Airport. They are the best airport in the country, apparently, for the last 3 years. They post that all over their walls. The number one rated airport in the entire country. And I'm thinking, hey, Atlanta or St. Louis, why don't you guys model yourselves after this airport? They're number one. Why? Because Atlanta is a nightmare. Why don't you do whatever they're doing? You ever do that where you're thinking, okay, I want to be good at something. I may as well follow the best. If I want to learn how to fight, I'm going to read Bruce Lee's books and watch his movies. If I want to learn how to give a podcast or do a radio show, well, I'll listen to Rush Limbaugh or one of these guys that's super successful, and I'll just imitate what he does. If I want to learn how to do guitar and play guitar, I'll watch Prince and listen. You just go with whoever's the best at whatever they do, and you just imitate whatever they do. And I'm thinking, the Minneapolis Airport is number one. Why aren't other airports just imitating and copying what they do to be better? Do I sound like I'm unreasonable here?
No. Every time I travel for these pharmacy conferences, I have to go through O'Hare, so it is by far the worst airport ever.
Yeah.
And you literally have to get there 2 hours early, but any other airport I've been to, literally you could probably get there 30, 45 minutes before your flight and just be fine.
Exactly. Just imitate whatever the best is at what you want to do, and just imitate those guys. I don't understand why that's so hard, but whatever.
Oh, God, this town is fucking horrible.
Let me talk a little bit about our profession, because everybody suffers through the same things. It's so universal, the field of retail pharmacy. You go on Twitter and everybody's complaining about the same things. But I got a question for you. The company that we work for, every so often every day you have to delete prescriptions that have been in the will call bin for too long, right? But I was told that you shouldn't delete any C2s or completions. Completions are the second half of a partial. Let's say you filled a partial and this is the completion. You don't want to delete completions or C2s, but at some point, after enough time has gone by, you've got to get them out of there eventually, right? How do you do that?
I just call the patient and I just kind of just look to see how long it's been there. If it's been about a month, I'm just like, all right, they're not coming. And if they come, I'll just call a third party and try to back it out or figure out something. It's weird because sometimes when you partial things, the price is not always the same. Sometimes I feel like it's more than their actual copay. Sometimes it's just a portion. Sometimes it's the full amount up front. So that determines a lot of what I do or how long I'll keep it in there.
I got another question for you. Recently, one of our C2 counts was off by like almost 30 pills. And of course, my partner's panicking because 30 pills, that's a lot. And you got to report that to the DEA or whatever. And you got to figure out, well, okay, why are we off by this many pills? And my girlfriend is a pharmacist. And I asked her, has this ever happened to you? And she's like, yeah, it usually happens when floaters come into your store. For some reason, floaters fuck up and the C2 count gets off. But if your C2 count is off and your computer is down, how do you reconcile? Because at my store, the debit was down, people couldn't use their debit card. You would tell them, don't use your PIN number, just hit the yellow button and circumvent that. The rewards points that you would earn, save your receipt. They'll apply that later, but right now the rewards thing is down. Can't use a health card, health savings account card. Can't use that. And we were having problems. It's like over a week we were down. So I'm thinking, okay, the C2 count is off. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that our computers are down because we had a rainstorm a week ago or whatever it was. But has that ever happened to you where you're like, okay, how do we resolve the fact that our C2s are off by so much? Have you ever had to deal with that?
Yeah. Usually you can go in there and look to see when things have been, sometimes someone did smart counts. Let's say they counted wrong. Then they negatively adjust it down or up or whatever. So you can go and check that. Oh, okay. So and so did the smart count. They marked it down. And there's different reports that you can kind of look at to pinpoint that. I'll usually just give to the store manager because I'm too busy. I say, hey, look at this, figure out why this is off. Sometimes I think when people, they say they count and it could be someone just counted wrong. It's 60, they look at the script, even though, it tells you do 60, sometimes they'll do 30 or just whatever. Because when people have multiple C2s, I've sent back a couple times where patients get like 2 C2s. One of them is like 60, twice a day. Another one's just one a day, and they just count the wrong one as 60 just because they're so busy. So, there's just a lot of ways. If the register was down and you guys didn't ring it out, that would be a reason why it's off. But
yeah, he was really panicking about that. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I didn't eat them. I swear it's not, I didn't smuggle them out my butt. I don't know. It's not me. I didn't do it. I don't know what else to say.
I don't know. It usually, I was like, there's a loss prevention person. They'll figure it out eventually. Anytime there's been theft in the pharmacy, they figure it out. And it is what it is. As long as you didn't steal it, that's how I look at it. Maybe that's not the right way to look at it.
Well, at your store, do techs order the supplies like bags and vials and caps and that sort of thing? Do the techs do that?
It just kind of just depends on the type of staff I have. Technicians come and go, so sometimes I have to do it. But if I have enough senior techs, they do it.
Yeah, my store is just me and my fellow pharmacy manager. We're the only ones that order supplies. And, I see these tweets on Twitter. Everybody's thanking their techs for doing such a great job. It's Technician Appreciation Day or whatever the fuck. And they're thanking them. And I'm thinking, I've never had a great tech staff. I guess I'm cursed. Everybody else has great techs, but I don't. I have techs that will walk away from a ringing phone. And I think to myself, why do I have to ask you to answer the phone? The phone's ringing. Why can't you just answer it? I have to ask you to answer it? I don't understand it. These are the kind of texts that I've had to deal with. And they don't order supplies. I have to order everything. I'm wondering, what is the expectation of your average tech? Should the average tech be expected to order supplies, to answer a ringing phone? Or do you have to tell them to do everything? Because I feel like I have to tell them to do everything. Am I just glutton for punishment, or do most techs know the drill? Like in your experience, do they know what to do?
It's just a little, I don't know. I look at it as like a team effort. I have one technician that just kind of split up the task. So it's just each technician just focus on this one thing a week. Make sure that this one thing gets done. That way they doesn't seem overwhelming. So I just have one technician that does the order, and she does a fabulous job. She'll sometimes text me like, hey, I forgot to order this. Can you do this? And I said, no problem. Or sometimes I'll say, hey, I already did the order for you. You don't have to do it tomorrow. And she'll say thank you. So it's like a back and forth thing. The phones, I don't know. I think it's universal because I'll have floaters and other pharmacists, and they don't answer the phone. Technicians won't answer the phone. I think they just want the manager to answer all the phone calls because usually people just want to speak to the manager anyway. So I don't see it as just a technician thing. I do have some technicians that do a better job at answering the phone than others, but then they get frustrated because the others don't answer the phone. So the ones that I know don't answer the phone, I'll say, hey, can you grab that phone call? And I literally will rotate around, ask a different person each time the phone is ringing. And sometimes they just get tired of hearing my voice and will just pick up the phone.
You want to know why everyone hates you? This is why.
I have another question that's more serious. So everybody's made a big hullabaloo about the opioid epidemic, and we've had to deal with this for years, but I'm just as concerned, if not more so, about the ADHD epidemic. Have you noticed how much, I mean, you haven't been a pharmacist as long as I have, but I'm really concerned about how common ADHD meds are prescribed. Everybody seems to be on Ritalin and Adderall, and my feeling is that this is really messing with kids' brain chemistry. And why is this stuff so overprescribed? Because back in my day, you just got spanked and you chilled out. And now it seems like everybody's just being put on these drugs that mess with your brain chemistry. And it doesn't bode well. Do you feel like we're overprescribing ADHD drugs at all?
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder how much, when I see the moms drop them off, I'm like, who's taking this? You or you were a little me? But I think it's just common now, so it's not frowned upon. It's like when weed becomes legal, then probably a lot more people will just start smoking weed because it won't have that negative connotation associated with it anymore. Like if weed becomes just more common, so it's like, oh well, since all these other kids are on Adderall, maybe I'll put my kid on Adderall, you know. So I just think that it's just more of the norm. So. And everybody, you know, especially when it comes to your kid doing well, everybody wants their kid to do well. So if other kids are taking Adderall and focus and do better, then your kid's kind of at a disadvantage. And, you know.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. I feel like.
But I agree with you. I didn't get Adderall. I got an ass whooping.
Exactly.
And every time I went to school and I didn't pay attention, my ass would send pain signals up my spinal cord to my brain that would say, focus.
Yeah, I think when I got spanked in school. I remember 6th grade getting spanked, and they've taken spanking out of classrooms. And I don't want to get on a high horse here, but geez, it seems like kids can tell the teacher to F off and get away with it, and there's no ramifications. It's like, well, just put them on some mind-altering drugs, and then that kid grows up and I don't know. They seem not able to cope with normal everyday life, and now we got to deal with them. They're totally disrespectful and big pain in the ass, but it is what it is. That's the society we've constructed for ourselves. Before we go, is there anything you wanted to close out with?
We should start doing a drink of the week. Whatever drink, new drink that we have to help us calm our nerves after a pharmacy shift.
That is a brilliant idea. And as a professional drinker myself, I can come up with some great ideas. But yes, we should come up with a new drink every week to help pharmacists get through the stress and just the hardship of what we do. Like I said, you're at the point where you're drinking moonshine. I'm glad you backed off of that, because that's some heavy stuff. But there are some drinks that we can use.
Who said I backed off? They sell it by the caseloads here at the quick and easy gas station. You don't need much of it. You just get what I do is I get a big piece of ice cube. I got this thing where you get the big round ice, stick it in the glass, pour the moonshine over it. So it's really not a whole lot of liquor, but it just
we got to get together and party sometime, my friend. All right, we got to get together and do a podcast together in the same room. That would be crazy fun.
I'm down.
All right, let's do that. Let's plan on doing that before too long.
I was saying if there's anything people want us to talk about, email us, or if you got a drink that we should try, or we should let everybody else know that something that you drink after work to help calm your nerves down, just let us know.
Absolutely. And just remember, every prescription you fill is one more closer to retirement. Thanks for listening, folks.
Bye-bye.
Hello, it's your drug dealer. I thought I'd call in case you needed anything at all. You know, you can always call me just to talk, but I mostly want to sell you drugs. Drug dealer.